Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a book review of Such a Fun Age by Kiley Reid, published in 2019. There's a lot to be said about this book, but let's get started. There's this 25-year-old black woman named Amira Tucker who's a nanny to a white family called the Chamberlains, and the Chamberlains consist of Peter Chamberlain, who's a news reporter, and his wife Alex Chamberlain, who's a motivational speaker slash influencer and has her own brand called Let Her Speak. And the both of them have two children, the youngest being Catherine and the oldest being Briar, who is 2 years old. So one night, Amira takes Briar to the grocery store where Amira is accused of kidnapping Briar, which leads to a whole intense event. Somebody films the event. And so after this goes down, Alex Chamberlain resolves to make everything right. Meanwhile, Amira's just trying to go through her life and figure out what she wants to do. So this was a great book. I definitely enjoyed it, but let's get into more about the plot. So the story was amazing, similar to the discourse of The Rib King. There's a lot hinging on race and class and how it affects the characters. So the event is really important to the book as a whole because it changes how the characters interact going forward. And I think the event is real interesting. And recently I read this story about a couple days ago where a black woman was flying on Frontier Airlines with her white adoptive sister, and a passenger complained and thought she was trafficking her white adoptive sister. And I was just like, wow, I just completely read a book that's exactly like this. And it's just really interesting to see, like, in the year 2021, that it's suspicious if a black person is with a white child or anything. But this story, it really shows different perspectives from completely different characters. And by that I mean Alex Chamberlain is completely oblivious to what Amira goes through and her personal life until this big event happens. Then she wants to be like, okay, like, tell me a little bit more about you and stuff like that, which I'll get more into when we get to the characters. But there's a lot of themes of, like, you know, performative activism, white guilt, white savior, and white privilege all over the book. But let's address these characters. So Amira is one of the main characters, who of course is a young black woman who's trying to figure out what she wants to do in life. She's lost with her career and finances, and meanwhile it seems all her friends are hitting these big achievements and she's getting lost looking at them because she's still trying to figure out what she wants to do in her career. And so in the midst of this, she has a relationship with a white man named Kelly, who is also the person who filmed the video of the big event, and he has a connection to Alex Chamberlain. So her new relationship with him is very interesting. There's this idea he's fetishizing her because he has, or I think he only has, black friends, and most of his girlfriends that he's dated are light-skinned and exotic. And therefore, like, he feels because since he's in this space with all these different black people, he believes that this is some privilege to save Amira and also do things like drop the N-word, which completely shocked me. I'm not unfamiliar to it, but it shocked me. But, you know, Amira's also thinking about the differences between them. She starts to think about, would he take their son to have his hair done, explain how to act around law enforcement simply because of his skin color, things Kelly wouldn't have experienced firsthand. And I feel I relate so much to Amira just because I'm going through some of the same stuff that she's going through. I'm not in my mid-20s, I'm in my early 20s. But I'm still trying to figure out, you know, I just graduated. What career path do I want to go on? And I'm looking at other people and I'm like, wow, they're achieving all of this. And then, you know, I start to compare myself. And then I also feel a little bit about Amira with dating. I'm not dating now currently, but I did come across a couple of Kellys who thought, oh, because I'm in this space with Black people that allows me to do this and that, and at the end of the day they're just fetishizing me because they've heard like all these stereotypes about Black women and they want me to play into that, and when I don't, it's just kind of a surprise to them. So I've definitely dealt with my fair share of Kellys. But moving on, let's talk about Alex Chamberlain. So like I said, she's a socialite, she's a motivational speaker, she has her own female empowerment brand, and she has a group of friends she confides in, one of them being Black. So of course, you know, she has to ask her about any issues dealing with Amira. And so when the whole event happens, she all of a sudden has this infatuation to get to know Amira, which I think she described as a crush. And so she tries to befriend her and looks at her messages. But at the end of the day, it's for a self-serving agenda because she doesn't want Amira to quit being a nanny, and now Alex has to like start taking care of Briar because she doesn't understand Briar and Amira does. So, you know, she's trying everything in her power to get Amira to stay like with them, inviting them to dinner, job promotions, different things just to reel Amira back in. But at the end of the day, she doesn't care about Amira and her needs. It's more so what she wants. And that's something that both of her and Kelly do. They're both white saviors who want to save Amira, and they're doing more harm than good because they're not actually asking what she wants. It's more so what they want for their own agenda. But the other characters, I don't really have any thoughts on. I loved Amira's bond with her friends. I didn't care too much for Alex's friends. That's all there really is to say about these characters. But let's keep it moving. I really liked the story. I liked how we had two different perspectives just because I think it's important to sometimes see the white savior and white guilt narrative just to see how absolutely ridiculous it is and how it sometimes makes us Black people feel. But yeah, I love the story, love the characters. The only dislikes I would have to say mainly has to deal with, I didn't really care too much about Alex's high school life. I'm like, girl, that happened about 10 years ago. I don't really care. But again, it does give some background to things that go on in the story, but I just find myself like glossing over them. And the ending was unsatisfying. I felt like we left with nothing resolved. You could make up your own ending, I guess, but it wasn't like the ending I was hoping for. But yeah, those are my only likes and dislikes. Overall, I think this book was pretty interesting. I definitely recommend it. There's the perspective of Amira being a Black woman and how these events play out to her, and there's also Alex Chamberlain's perspective and how she sees the events. And there's the white savior, white guilt, white wokeness, you name it, all of it's in there, which I think is a really important topic during this time now. I think of the George Floyd protests last June and how so many different white people wanted to seem woke so bad. I remember going on Netflix and the #1 movie for maybe a week or so was The Help. And I was just like, are you serious? Like, you're watching a movie? I mean, and it has good lessons to it, but I was just like, wow, this is an example of white wokeness. But overall, yeah, I love the book. It's very detailed. It makes you think. So I would give this book a 4.5 out of 5 stars. The only thing, like I said, was like I didn't really care too much about Alex Chamberlain's high school life and also the ending. But yeah, that concludes my review. Don't forget to follow me on my Bookstagram at DearNeela99, and I'll link all my other socials below, and be on the lookout for my next video. Bye!